Hey friends, happy Friday. Happy day 6 of Preptober. Happy beautiful day of fall, at least where I am. I hope it is where you are as well. Thanks for coming to hang out with me today. I'm really stoked, you guys, because I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 things that I do to brainstorm a novel for NaNoWriMo. This is something that I came up with for myself basically since I've been doing NaNoWriMo, and my first NaNoWriMo was I think 2012 or 2013. So I have been using these for a while, and I want to share them with you guys because I feel like they're really fun. They work great for me. If it's not something that works for you, obviously throw it out. But it makes it feel like an activity. And I don't know about you, but I'm a huge nerd, so I love a brainstorming activity, especially when it comes to creativity and my writing. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm stoked to share it with you, and I'm sharing this with you on a Friday because I feel like if you have the time, this will be a great weekend activity. It's really fun to just dive right in and brainstorm all the things and get yourself prepped for NaNoWriMo. Now, I will say this typically works best for if you are developing an entirely new novel for NaNoWriMo, or if this is your first time participating. Some of these things will work for you just fine if you are doing a second or third novel in a series, but maybe not all of them. If you're already established with your world and your characters and things like that, some of this stuff is not going to be as effective for you, but you can still use some of it for sure. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So this is where I begin when I'm plotting or brainstorming a new novel for NaNoWriMo. Elements of story and themes. So let's just go ahead really quick and toss out what are elements of story. So we have plot. You guys, my printing is not going to be neat through this because I don't want to waste time by trying to make it look cute. We are here for the helpful info, not for looking cute. So we have plot, we have setting, we have main conflict. Sorry if you heard that noise. My husband was calling out for my children to come help him with something in the garage, and I thought he'd gotten hurt, and I like threw my pen and went running. Okay, my heart is racing. Back to it. Elements of story. We have plot, we have setting, we have conflict, we have a protagonist, we have an antagonist, we have supporting characters. We have, okay, and then we'll do, let's do a big one for themes. Okay, so the point of this is to basically get the ball rolling with your brainstorming for your novel. So what you're gonna do right here is just figure out what types of these you personally enjoy and what types of these you think you might have strengths in for writing. So what type of plot do you like? Do you prefer CHARACTE, oh my gosh, character-driven plot or story-driven plot? You know, that's basically where your story, your novel is carried along with the strengths of your characters, the motivations of your characters, or your story, your world, what's going on, that sort of thing. So just pick one, and then we'll dive deeper into it as we go along. If you know which one you prefer to write in or which one you think you would have strengths writing in. Character driven, if you're really great at characters, or if you really want a character focused story, choose that one. If you want your world and the theme and the things going on, the story to drive it, choose that one. Setting, of course, this is pretty straightforward. Where does it take place, but also when does it take place? So if you're going to do like a historical romance or historical fantasy, you can do historical, you can do modern, you can do, what am I thinking? Of course, you know, your own made up, created world. You can do, if it's in space, if it's a, help me out here, guys, alternate timeline, or like parallel timeline, parallel universe that looks similar to our world, but it has its clear differences. Any of those things, choose which setting you think that you would be great at writing in, or which setting you would like to write in. And then your conflict. Is your main conflict going to be your character versus bad guy or guy's villain? Is it going to be your character versus society? Like maybe this is post-apocalyptic or something like that. Or a system, like maybe a government system, or a patriarchy or matriarchy system in the future or in space, any of those things. Or is it going to be your character versus themselves, right? This is an internal conflict. Maybe you're writing a romance novel and they have some internal conflicts, internal trauma, internal unresolved issues before they can fall in love with the main love interest in the story. So it's going to be your character versus themselves. Choose which one of these. Next, we have the protagonist and the antagonist. I mean, this is pretty straightforward, right? This is going to be your main character or your main characters. Who or what, because, you know, your main character can, of course, be an animal or a robot or an android or something. You can tell what genre I prefer to write in. Same with your antagonist, who or what. The villain doesn't have to necessarily be a person. It could be, like I said, the society or the system or the world. Even the world can be the thing that your character is working against. And then what type of character do you want? Do you want an unreliable narrator, right? We question whether or not we can trust what they're telling us. Do you want a lovable villain? People think that the bad guy is pretty cool. I don't know. They might actually be the hero of the story. They've got a cool vibe, a cool language, or something about them that doesn't necessarily make them the bad guy. Supporting characters, this is pretty simple again. Who or what? You're going to do the same thing again by figuring them out, profiling your characters. Right here, I wouldn't go super deep. We're going to get into that further on in the pages. Just a basis of who your protagonist and your antagonist is going to be, and what maybe type of narration or personality style they have that is the strongest, that's going to stand out, and of course, drive your story. Right here is not where we're going to be like, they have brown hair, they have green eyes, they're tall, they're short, none of that. We're just going to do a generalization right here. Okay, then we're going to do themes. What theme do you want to write for your story, or would you like to try out for your story? So I'm just going to throw a few out here. I'm not going to, there's so many, but there's coming of age, there's the hero's journey, there's a revenge story, there's, what else? Courage and overcoming. So again, this one can work for a really protagonist, antagonist focused story. If they're overcoming the society, overcoming the world, that kind of thing, this one will work. We have war and peace. We also have love and conflict. So again, for your oh my gosh, okay, conflict. I said we were going to make it quick, you guys. For your romance or anything like that. So that's just a few. You can also look up, you can Google themes of, oh gosh, it's kind of bleaching out, you guys. I apologize. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm in front of the window, so the sun's doing a weird thing right now. But you can Google themes of stories if you need some more ideas. Those are just a few to start with. Then on to the next page. I play 20 questions. Now, I play 20 questions with the elements of a story and the theme that I just wrote down. So I'm not going to have you guys sit through me writing down all 20 questions. I will just give you the gist of it, basically. So I would refer back to the page that I just had. I would start at the top and I would do plot, right? So let's say I've chosen a character-driven plot. I would just go further into detail with my character-driven plot right here with my question. So I would go, what is my character-driven toward? Right? So let's say I'm writing a modern romance about a woman in New York City who's driven toward a job, a career, right? And there's this guy is going to come along and he's going to be a real stud muffin and he's going to interrupt all that stuff. So my character is driven toward landing her dream job, right? And then I would go on to the next one, which would be, how am I, as an author, going to disrupt the heck out of this for her so we actually have a story, right? What is stopping my character from getting her dream job? Or him or them or whoever, right? What is stopping my characters from getting what they want? Which is also going to tie into that conflict thing that I did at the beginning, right? So the conflict is character versus maybe themselves, because they have to make a decision, they have to choose. Maybe there's going to be a conflict of interest if they take this job, but the guy is gonna buy the building that they want to, something like it. I do not write romance, you guys. I'm trying to make it simple to understand. So this would be in what type of conflict I'm gonna write in my story. And then I would also need my setting, right? So where does this take place? Right? And we said New York. And then you can also narrow it down further, but I'll show you guys how to do that in the future. And then who is your antagonist? It could be the character versus themselves. It could even be the love interest starts out as the antagonist and you have a hate to love story, that kind of thing. So hate to love, and then it's going to be a modern story, right? You could also do something like this for historical. It would be a different scenario from being a career forward focused woman in New York City, but you could still do this for historical, for alternate, like historical fantasy. You could do the same thing. The girl wants to be a dragon rider, but a guy is getting her attention, like that, you know, that fantasy is my jam. So any of those things, ask yourself 20 questions by referring back to the elements and the themes of your story. Also, you guys, I apologize for writing like this. I have an astigmatism and, oh, there's a plop of paper. I have an astigmatism, so I write at a slant because I see at a slant. So I'll try to not be like this. Hopefully this makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I will be more than happy to answer and catch up with you guys there. You can do 20 to 30 to 50. I mean, you don't have to stop at 20. If this is really flowing for you, just keep going. I mean, obviously the game 20 questions, I just called it that. I try to do 50 for mine. Sometimes I keep going, sometimes I fall short. Whatever works best for you, and then do it kind of simple right here. We're gonna go into a deep dive just a little bit further along. So let's go to the next one, which is my favorite. This one, you guys, mood, theme, and vibe web. I absolutely love doing this. Now, for the sake of sharing with you guys and showing this in a simple way, I just have it in my notebook here, but what I love to do for this one is get a big piece of poster paper. I roll out my white poster paper onto the floor or onto the kitchen table, and I make a huge web in the center, and I just spring from it whatever I think of for the mood and the theme and the vibe of my story. If you don't have poster paper, but you do have printer paper, I just would tape 4 of them together so that you have a big square and you can work in there. It's so much fun. Turn on a show that you love that is like inspiring to what you want to write, or turn on a playlist, any of those things. It's so much fun. So what I like to do is, of course, start with a circle in the middle, and I'm going to use 2 of my absolute favorite things to do this one, and they should be understandable for you guys as well. I write my working title, or just something about the story in the center. So we're going to write Strange Goonies. You can already tell where I'm going with this, and if you know me at all, you are not surprised. Okay, so let's say my working title is Strange Goonies. It's not plagiarism, it's not my jam, but for the sake of making this easy to understand, here's what I would do. I would go with, so we're looking for the mood, the theme, and the vibe. So dark and stormy, right? That's what we've got a lot of, especially in episode 1 of Stranger Things, right? For Goonies, we do have like rainy and stormy as well. But what am I thinking of? Like, what's the, Pacific Northwest just comes to my mind. Damp. It just has like a mood that kind of hangs heavy on you. I don't want to use the word damp, but you know what I mean. Atmospheric. We're just going to go doom. That looks like poom. Doom and gloom, right? That's a mood and a vibe. We have a mystery. We have small town, big secret. We have coming of age. We have 80s vibes and nostalgia. We have friendship. We have an unseen monster, which I love. That's so much fun when we don't see the monster on the screen until the end. You can also do that in writing as well. It's a little bit tricky. It takes some practice and some technique, but you can do an unseen monster in a story as well. We have treasure hunt, and we also have the human aspect, right? The human monsters. You can see where I'm going with this, but just things that you want to include, or if you don't have an idea yet for your novel, you've reached this point and you still don't know exactly what it's going to be, I promise you, if you write something in the center here that you feel strongly pulled towards, and then you branch out of things that are related to this, by the time you reach the end, you're probably going to have a really good idea of what you want to write. So lastly, we have a deep dive. What I do for this is I go back and choose something from one of the pages that I've already done. This isn't the last one. This is the second to last one. Sorry, excuse me. We have 5. This is number 4. Deep dive. So I go back to the pages that I've already done and choose something to do a deep dive on. You can go back and do one of your 20 questions. Choose one of your 20 questions and really dig in thoroughly. So like, for example, let's say you choose the, what does my character want and what is preventing them from getting it? Do a deep dive on this. What do they want? Why do they want it? Why is it important to them? And then all the reasons that they're being stopped from getting it. Why that's working against them, how they feel about being stopped from getting it, the tactics that they try in order to get it, and why those still don't work for them. You can really deep dive on just one of the 20 questions. You can also do a deep dive on your mood web. You can put in the center here your world or one of your characters, your protagonist or your villain. Or you can focus in on something that is really specific in your world. Let's say that you want to create amazing imagery in your fantasy story and you have a castle, for example, in your story. You could put the castle, or if you've named it, you could put that in the center and you can really deep dive on it. You can go from the marble flooring to the tapestries on the wall to the grounds around it, the many rooms that it has, if there's a dungeon, what is going on in the dungeon, all the many things. You can do a total deep dive on something really honed in that you want to build strong in your story. These are really fun to just have a whole bunch of as well. You can do them for every single one of your characters, a deep dive on your character, put their name in the middle, and you can go like from their features to their personality, their likes, their dislikes, their mood, what type of dialogue they're gonna have, personality traits, did I already say that one? Whether or not they have scars, their family history, anything at all, their likes and dislikes when it comes to food or music or other people or the world that they're in. You can really do a massive deep dive on your character. And I recommend doing this at any stage that you're in when you're writing. I know that this is not super important for NaNoWriMo if you're just doing your first novel and you just are trying to get that first draft, but I find that having as many of these as possible helps me, you know, when we reach that midway point slump and words are what are words anymore, we just blah, like nothing's coming out. If we refer back to these, then we have questions to answer on the page and we have our answers to the questions. So yeah, these are a lot of fun. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions again about this, feel free to leave them and I will catch up with you guys. Last one, now truly, we are at the last one. This one is get inspired. Once you figure out the setting that you want, the plot that you want, the conflict, the type of characters, all that stuff, get inspired. Get things on board that are really going to encourage you to stick to this, because that's important. We don't want to be changing our novel halfway through November. No plot bunnies to chase down the rabbit hole. Get inspired and cling to these things. So make your playlist. Do the Pinterest, right? Watch or read in the same genre. All the things, and you can make a vision board, you can, any of these things. Get inspired and have things surrounding you that are gonna inspire you to keep with the novel that you have just brainstormed. So quick recap, we've got elements of story and themes. We've got play the 20 questions or the 30 or the 50 or the 15, the mood and theme vibe web, the deep dive on one of these or one of these or one of these or something else that you want to deep dive on, and then get inspired. I hope these helped you guys. I hope you found some inspiration here today. I'm wishing you all the best on your brainstorming and plotting in Preptober for your NaNoWriMo novel. Please let me know down in the comments if you're gonna give some of these a try. If you're already good to go, you're already prepped and prepared for NaNoWriMo, let me know if you want, if you feel comfortable, what it is you're going to be working on for NaNoWriMo. I'm excited to hang out with you guys again for more writing and plotting and planning, all the P's, for Preptober and in NaNoWriMo as well. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this one. I will see you again tomorrow. Tell your dog I said hi. Bye guys.